proposed address in reply.
The question is that the address be agreed to, and I call the honourable member for Chisholm.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and thank you for being in the chair during this speech. It will come as no great surprise that I'm probably not going to be talking to the actual address in reply. Sad but true. I have been thinking long and hard about this speech today and have actually put words on paper, something I rarely do nowadays for a speech. I could not quite fathom what one would say when you get the chance to say goodbye, thanks, and I love yous all. Most people leave this place not at a time of their choosing, so when you get their privilege, you need to show it some respect. All of us here constantly ask why. What drove you to a political career? I often feel like the contestant at a beauty pageant getting the satch when I answer world peace. But I don't resile from that. I generally wanted world peace when I joined the Labor Party in 1987 at Greg Sword's house in Ashwood, and I want it more today. I joined the party because I wanted to be part of change and to make a difference. I didn't join at university, I actually joined the local branch because I wanted to be part of something. We'd been through a tremendous time during the International Year of Peace, where my elder sister Nina had been very involved in a program that sadly didn't end in a communique to the UN in peace, but a police riot. The paddy vans arrived and the Age the next morning read, Youth Peace Forum ends in riot. And I was sick of this. I was sick of all the armchair experts willing to throw rocks, but not willing to actually do something to create a world, a better community. Barack Obama put it well when he said, change will not come if we wait for some other person or if we wait for some other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. We are the change that we seek. I never thought I would be a Member of Parliament. I often described myself as the accidental member for Chisholm. I got asked to nominate in 1997 as we needed a candidate. I told Steve, my long-suffering bloke, who's been on this journey with me the whole way, it's okay, I can't win. We were renovating a house. I was in the midst of an intensive EB negotiation with ANZ Bank, 22,000 staff Australia-wide, 6 state and 1 national secretary to keep on side. We led bank staff to their first ever industrial action, and Steve and I were thinking of starting a family. So it was not the time to think of running for parliament, so yes, of course, that's what I did. I never got to live in my fully renovated house. I have never used my Ilve oven. I dream of my Ilve oven I've never got to use. The FSU did triumph and got a great deal that sadly stood there for 9 years because of the Howard government, but it was a great deal and they deserved it. And after my first 12 months in parliament, I gave birth to my daughter Maddie. Labor won the seat in Chisholm in 1998 through hard work and a bit of good luck, and I'm grateful to Michael Woolridge seeing sense in swapping seats. The first campaign was fun. We had nothing to lose, almost nothing to work with, but drive and enthusiasm. I lost a stack of weight and had a ball. 5 more elections later, in one of the most marginal seats in the country, and the fact that I get to decide when I leave is a testimony to a great team around me. I have thought I was gone on more than one occasion, and I had a phone call from my last Liberal opponent, John Nguyen, just the other day, wishing me well. He did everything in his power to unseat me at the last election. He gave it his all. I did not think I would ever get here, let alone last almost 18 years. I did not have my maiden speech written when I was 3 years old, like I suspect Kevin Rudd did. I finished mine at 3 a.m. in the morning before I gave it, and Mum said it wasn't quite the greatest. So I'm trying to make amends for that today, as she is here today, as was the extended Burke clan back in 1998. Nina's made it today, my elder sister, and I know the rest of the clan is listening on. Those of you who know us know that my mother's never quite worked out what she did right or wrong. Because of her 5 children at one stage, 4 of us were working for trade unions, and my little brother was at Slater and Gordon. I think it goes to their drive and determination to make the world a better place, to show us through their Catholic faith a struggle for social justice. My children, Maddie and John, are here with me today, but of course weren't in 1998, because they weren't. I can mark my election success by the growth of my children. They're no longer young, and I have not sacrificed my time with them by being a Member of Parliament. Yes, I've missed things, but I've also had the opportunity to be there. I skipped a leadership challenge to go to Madeline's first day of school. Heck, at that stage we'd had so many leadership challenges, what was another one? So a lot of people said to me, everyone will know you're not there, it'll be a big issue, Maddie won't mind you didn't come. But I would have minded that I didn't go to Madeline's first day of school, so I did. I've got to be honest, I apologise to the Valedictory, I did nick out of a few question times to make it home to the yearly school concert. I have tried to be at most of my children's parent-teacher interview, and I even had to fly home once to discuss turning off my father's life support system. He managed to live for another 10 weeks, though. I thought that was grossly unfair of him at the time, but it was difficult. And my father, for all his challenges, was one of my greatest supporters and fans, and also my harshest critic, and we still miss him. I took my kids to everything. I breastfed them very discreetly in front of an enormous array of people. One army major sitting in my office was a bit mortified one day when there was a squeak from the corner in my office. "What's that?" I said, "It's a baby." "It's a baby? What do you mean it's a baby?" "It's a baby." "What are you going to do?" I said, "What do you think the baby wants to do now?" I said, "We'll leave." I said, "Fine. You want to leave, you want to stay. It's no difference to us. She's going to get what she wants." I fed in front of a Year 12 politics class, and the class were great. The teacher did go a bit white. The Greek and Chinese ladies in my community still ask me why John isn't at the events with me. When I explain now that he's 14, they say, "How did that happen?" And sometimes I wonder, how did it happen? I did tuck shop duty. I baked cakes for school fetes. I love our local 24-hour Kmart. Thank God for 24-hour Kmart. Those forgotten presents, the forgotten oranges and snakes, so many things. I have, of course, left my children at childcare and had the apocryphal phone call, "Are you coming to get them?" And yes, I've regularly been late, but it's made the adventure all that more fun. I've had texts while sitting in the Speaker's chair saying, "Where are my hockey socks?" To which I have replied, "I'm in Canberra. I suspect they're in your sister's drawer." "Oh yeah," would be the reply. I've had people ringing when I'm in the Speaker's chair saying, "Are you going to be picking the children up tonight?" "I don't think so. I'm in Canberra." But we've managed it all, just as every other working family in the country does. Steve has been there the whole way, giving up work, going part-time, only after he actually threatened industrial relation to his employer because they informed him that part-time work was only for women. So we've changed that. And I think many of the things in this place we describe as women's issues are not. They're family issues. They're issues for our community. They're issues for our society. He's changed careers. He's retrained. He's accepted on occasion being called Mr. Burke. He's cooked, he's cleaned. He's drove everyone to where they needed to be and felt all my frustrations and triumphs along the way. I couldn't have done it without him. We all trot out the line that it's been an honour and a privilege to serve, because it has been. Since Federation, there's only been 1,665 members of this place, and of that, only 165 have been women. Those of us sitting on these green chairs belong to a very small collective, and many more have tried to get in this place. To have had this honour bestowed on us by those in our electorates and for successive elections is something to say thank you for. Thank you for putting your faith in me to take genuinely the role of being your representative and to serve in this august institution. It's been a blast, oftentimes incredibly frustrating, but above all, it's been an honour. My motto in politics has always been to be active and approachable. I think I myself have lived up to that creed. I like the line by Trollope, which I based my honours thesis on. It's dogged as does it. That's what life in politics has been for me. Sadly, the quote ends, "It's dogged as dogged does it. It ain't thinking about it." But I have thought about it, all of it, and that has made it sometimes much harder. I do believe still it is the narrative, the vision, the light on the hill to which the electorate is drawn to and crave, a vision that will drive action for a better world. Sometimes it doesn't feel like that to us here or to the electorate, but I think that's why we all come. Thomas Jefferson, founding father and principal author of the Declaration of Independence, said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal." On the flip side, one of Australia's own founding fathers asked the people to vote for the lofty aim of federation with the words, "We shall found a great nation and there will be cheaper meat." We do have a great nation, one that every day I've served and marvelled in. But sadly, there is no cheap meat. What I've enjoyed most is being in my community, working with hundreds of great community groups, schools, kinders, service organisations, universities, research institutions, businesses big and small, hospitals and individuals who all work to the benefit of the community. As members of parliament, we get to step into their lives for a small moment to see them at their best and worst, to be there in the triumphs and the tears. It's amazing the things you get to see and do in this job that you could easily never know existed. Being at the 100th birthday of Phyllis Winifred Smith, who'd organised her own message and party and said I could come because I was a nice girl even if I wasn't Liberal. Celebrating the 61st wedding anniversary of Ron and Margaret Snell in my office, because they didn't want to make a fuss at their 60th, but we thought we needed to make amends on their 61st. Opening the Translational Medical Centre at Monash Medical Centre, standing with the workers at the closure of the Arnott's factory and seeing the losses of 500+ jobs, and then sadly the factory, which is now housing. Celebrating the successful transition of auto parts manufacturer Bosch, who will survive beyond the auto industry shutdown. Visiting Ashwood School, a disability service in my electorate, where one day we applaud a child who's learnt to tie their laces, and the next, that child who is off to the swimming trials for the Paralympics. Dancing with Greeks to celebrate the St Anagari's feast day in Oakley. I can do it beautifully. Helping countless individuals with migration matters, such as Roswinda's daughter, Ruanabun, get a permanent child visa to come to Australia, because sadly she'd been left behind when her mother had to flee from Zimbabwe facing persecution. We got one of the nicest bottles of red. I don't think we deserved it, but it was wonderful to see them reunited. Cutting the pig on numerous occasions to welcome in Chinese New Year, listening to the firecrackers going off, being there at the dusk to dawn ceremony in Box Hill with over 80,000 Chinese people. Marvelling at Italian men wanting to dance passionately with their wives after 50 years of marriage, applauding the Tamil community who strive to keep their language and dance traditions alive in the next generation, watching the pride in the Jewish community, although they don't live in my electorate, they have the largest school in my electorate, excel in their students and their culture, applauding students at Kingswood College for winning vocational training awards, watching the solar car fly at Box Hill High and the rebirth of Ashwood High School, being at countless grade 6 graduations and marvelling at the ability of adolescents to walk in ridiculously high shoes, watching as a 3D jet printed engine comes to life at the additive manufacturing plant at Monash Uni, buying my first big issue from Craig, having a Lexus and Opel in my office as no one else will give the highly intelligent disabled woman and her assistant's dog the break she deserves, working to undo complex Centrelink matters and resolve intractable housing disputes. We were reminiscing, and one of my staff, Jason, who's been there almost from the beginning, said, "I do remember in the first months when I started in Box Hill how we helped a woman who was a victim of domestic violence out the back door of the office as she was fleeing from her partner and was terrified he would be loitering out the front." He said that's always stayed with him. Attending the funerals of too many branch members and community leaders, most recently the magnificent Robin Fenton, the most vibrant special education teacher we'd ever known. It didn't look like she died because they painted her coffin a bright pink. She was too young and we miss her all. Being at the Box Hill Vietnam's Veterans Black Tie Dinner and their dawn services, at the Oakley RSL as we marched down the street, at the Clayton RSL where the World War II vets have finally taken to the Jeep as we march from the club to the cenotaph. Sadly, I've seen many of them pass away too. Watching the pride the Indian senior cits they take in the work of their community. Eating my way through too many Karatides ladies' lunches, I have eaten my way through my electorate through every ethnic cuisine known to man. and I've never satisfied them. I've never eaten enough. I apologise. Helping sell Box Hill Lions cakes, sausages for Rotary Mash, being the butt of the tail twister at the Waverley Lions, and understanding that our community does not work without the great work of all these amazing service organisations. Attending the Christmas barbecue of the Damper Creek volunteers who've turned a Barrel Creek into a calm forest oasis in the suburbs. Standing with the community over rotten planning decisions. Cheering the Box Hill Hawks, at least one of my football teams has to win sometime. Watching the Waverley Hockey take on Camberwell, and remembering I have to cheer for the blue and not the Tangerine side. Seeing the joy at the Bugs and Eastern Gymnastics as some small child completes a beam routine without falling off. Knowing Christmas has arrived by being at the carols at the Grove. Supporting the dedication and the drive of the members of the Asian Business Association of Whitehorse as they achieve great things for business in our community. Watching the joy and sorrow of recognition at Cabrini Nursing Home as the choir, led by the 105 pianist, kind of sing in tune. Handing out Bryony's Award each year at Waverley Guides. Being at the annual Amaroo Neighbourhood Art Show and marvelling at people's creativity and dedication to community. Sometimes this was just a week in my life in the electorate of Chisholm, and of course there was so much more. Summed up in an incredible touching email from a constituent. Hi Anna, as you prepared to depart Parliament, I'd like to thank you for your commitment over the last 18 years. You've been a great local member who has done much for our community, from visiting to my children's school to speaking with them when they visited Canberra, to your responses to emails and to your willingness to chat with people on the street. You've made yourself very available. Poor Stephanie has large shoes to fill. Being a politician is a tough life. Enjoy not being a politician. Thank you, Christine. I've championed many causes in this place, but one close to my heart is anaphylaxis. Meeting parents of children who've died from anaphylactic shock is a sobering experience. Speaking to the Baptist about the hole left by Alex's death and the Tate's loss of Louis has left me to wonder why. Why do more children have to die before we see common sense legislation that will literally save lives? 1 in 10 children will be diagnosed with life-threatening anaphylaxis, not a rash or a tummy ache. So we need to raise awareness about allergic disease and fund research. But in the interim, we need to work on prevention and training and how to use an EpiPen in situations where you literally can save a life. So I'm absolutely rapt to be with Captain King last week at the Monash Medical Centre, where we announced a Shorten Labor government will commit $1.1 million to better manage allergic diseases and their associated health risks, and I thank her greatly for that. I'm proud I'm leaving behind the Do Not Call register, an initiative I championed and introduced from opposition. I'm taking credit. I don't care who else says. I think I should. I did it. I think issues of consumer affairs are often ignored by many of us, but they impact on everybody's life. So I think we've done something great by returning your home as your castle and not a telemarketing paradise. I've said enough on asylum seekers here and everywhere. You know what I think. You know I think what we're doing is wrong. But I'm not going to run away from the issue. Tim Winton, who spoke at the Palm Sunday Peace Rally in Perth last year, summed it up well. To those in power who say that means will justify the end, I say I've heard that nonsense before. It's the tyranny's lies. Don't you dare utter it in my name. If current refugee policy is common sense, then I refuse to accept it. I dissent. And many of my countrymen and women dissent alongside me. I don't pretend to have a geopolitical answer to the worldwide problem of asylum seekers. 50 million people are currently displaced by war and famine and persecution. I don't envy those who make the decision in these matters, those who sought and gained power to make decisions in this matter. I'm no expert, no politician, but I know when something's wrong and what my country is doing wrong. We're losing our way. We've hardened our hearts. I fear we've devalued the currency of mercy. Children have asked for bread and we gave them sown. So turn back, I beg. For the children's sake, for the sake of this nation's spirit, rise us back up to our best selves. Turn back while there's still time. I echo Tim Winton. Let us turn back while there is still time. Let us show we are a nation, not of small hearts. But in my own words, to everyone listening, Labor is not the current government. It's beholden on the Turnbull government to resolve this issue now, to deal with these human beings, as people, and not political footballs. These are people so traumatised that some of themselves are setting themselves on fire at Nauru. And a High Court ruling has said that the asylum seekers have to be removed from Manus Island. These are not illegals, these are not criminals, these are refugees. Something needs to be done, and I know we can do better, and I know the public is asking us to. I'd like to talk also about climate change, foreign aid, higher education research, but I've gone on way too long already. But I do know that I will be the first generation to leave the next generation worse off, and I despair of that. And I think we need to do great work in that space, particularly in climate change. And again, I applaud what this side of Parliament has done and has always done. I was proud to be elected in 2007 and to see us introduce great legislation then. And I want to know we will be re-elected as a Labor government to do some genuine action in that space. You don't get here without a lot of help. And I'm going to read a lot of names because I owe it to them. I want to thank the following party members: Peter Chandler, Sue Hopgood, Jan and Cyril Kennedy, who got to think that I wasn't a right-wing nasty person but an okay girl. They kind of like me now. Howard and Murray Hodgins, Gary and Jan Dirks, Graham Hill, Peter Rennie, Dan Hill, Wendy Dickerson, who keeps me alive with her many emails, Helen Buckingham, Barbara Dwyer, Tony Monagle, Laurie and David Werner, Gonzalo, Brenton Ward, Manfred, the marvellous Manfred, Sam Lim, Helena Stranard, a Holocaust survivor who has done so much for our party, David Schultz, Raf Ciccone, Josh Beggs, Christine Barcham, Margaret Oldfield, Bob and Ravel Kirkwood, Kathleen Brasher, Tom Huxton, Mark Coffey and Susan Berkeley, Jiminy Paul, Malcolm McDonald, Chris Wilkes, Michael Watson, the entire Sharon family, Robert Chong, Sharon Ellis, Alan and Margaret Clausen, and some great supporters who aren't party members: Norman Topsy-Gibbs, Margaret Taylor. I don't have too many local Labor members of Parliament. I am in a sea of Liberaldom in my neck of the woods. So from the support I've had over the years from Sean Lee, Steve Demopoulos, Burwood Bob, Maxine Moran and Jacinta Collins, I thank them dearly for everything. In the early days, there was this amazing guy called Bert Stevens who just rocked up on my door and offered me help. I am eternally grateful. To my amazing staff who have been there from the beginning. Some of them have lasted the whole distance. A couple of them been made redundant and have come back again, which I think is pretty remarkable of them. But at the beginning, it was the inevitable Rachel Dapron who made it all possible. Rachel was a star. Some people may love or hate her, but she could campaign till the cows come home. She was incredible. Matthew Merry, Karen Buckney, who were there at the beginning. Karen came along, set me up like she served Robert Ray, and I've barely had anything go wrong in respect of entitlements because of it. Janet Sharon, Matthew Cooper, Faye Dapron, David Dee, Joe Fennessy, Ainsley Gowan, Alistair Gowing, Karen, Jason Lebich, Rick Prakoff, Louise Roach, Jean Shahara, Liana Stauffer, Peter Stevens and Gail Vermont were all in my electorate office. They've all done amazing things. They've all served my community so well. Jason, Rick and Janet have been the backbone of that office for so long, and I thank them dearly. When I was Speaker and Deputy Speaker, I had phenomenal staff. We need phenomenal staff in that office. It was actually, of course, my time as Deputy Speaker that was probably more trying. I know most of you will find that hard to believe, but it was the day of the cardboard cutout of Kevin Rudd that will forever be etched in my memory. I'd been Deputy Speaker for a week. I'd never done it before. We were sitting in this chamber. Bernard was sitting there. We were all sitting there going, what does one do with a life-size cardboard cutout of the Prime Minister? Especially when we've agreed under the standing orders, I can't throw anyone out. It was horrendous. You can YouTube it. I survived that, so did Lindy. Lindy was amazing during that time. She lost her job, she came back again. She served me well, and I want to say thank you to her. I want to thank you to all those staff, particularly the ones who we affectionately refer to as the Get Me Re-elected people. To my amazing family, to my mother and father, to my mum Joan, who's with us today, who brought up 5 children on the smell of an oily rag, put us through private school and then all on to university, at the same time going and graduating herself as a mature age student. It's been an amazing effort and we couldn't have done it without you. To my father Bernie, who's gone. To my endearing brothers and sisters, their partners and their children, Tony, Liana, Sarah, Emma and Chris, Nina, Jared, Julian, Tim, Matt and Sinead. To my sisters Sophie, Paul, Melinda, Thomas and Alice. To my fantastic in-laws. I have amazing in-laws and they've been, again, the backbone in how I've managed to do this. John, Maureen, who's sadly no longer with us, Jenny, Dermot, Lily, Greg, Elise, Leo, Hazel, Katie, Emmett and Henry. Thank you all. Thank you to the staff in this place who look after us so well and who I got to know amazingly well in my time as Deputy and as Speaker. To the attendants, particularly Luch, who looked after me so well. To the security guards in this place, you are amazing. To the Hansard, to the cleaners, to the people in stores, to the people in the shuttle, to the table office, to the PLO, to ICRO, to the sergeant's office, to the gym staff, thank you. I like going to the gym, as some of you may know. To Comcar, to DPS, to DOFA, to the Aussie people who make my coffee every day without me even asking what I want, to all the people in the library, but most importantly to the clerks who are the backbone, who are the corporate knowledge of this place. I say thank you. To David, to Bernard, to Clarissa and to all of you, I say an enormous thank you. It was not an easy time in the hung parliament. I used to watch as Bernard scrawled in his hand the changes to reps practice he was making on a daily basis as we changed precedent in this place literally before our eyes. On occasions, Bernard and I both sat there and went, well, what do we do now? Well, actually, nobody knows. We've never done it before. It was an amazing period. I also think it demonstrated that we belong to an amazing institution, and an institution that does us proud. People can go on and say that the hung parliament was bad. I don't think it was. I think it was an amazing period in our democracy. It demonstrated that this parliament works. Legislation was passed, actually more than's been passed in this majority parliament. Committees meetings happened, committee reports were done, private members' business took place. Private members' business actually became law. It was an amazing time, and I think in reflection people will understand how wonderful it truly was. But without the clerks, without the institution, it wouldn't have happened. And I think we in Australia, who take our democracy for granted as we're going into election, need to reflect how grateful we should be to the institutions we have. I want to wish Stephanie Perry, the Labor candidate for Chisholm, well. She's a phenomenal human being, a great person. I've known her for a long time. I know it's going to be a struggle. We never take for granted that we'll win the seat of Chisholm, but she will be able to do it. Frustrations were many over the years. Being in opposition was always a frustration, not being able to get things done. I've personally been frustrated I never got to speak from the dispatch box. I think I had more to give, and I was disappointed I never got the chance. There were very dark days in 2010 and again in 2013. Being told by the Prime Minister that she thought I'd be happy being a chair of a committee really did leave me a bit speechless, and when I asked her if she thought she'd like being a chair of a committee, seeing as we've both been elected in '98, I just got a blank look. I was not in a good place in those times. Through it all, my family were phenomenal, but at home it was easy. I could ignore this joint. It really hurt here, though, and so I need to put on the record my absolute appreciation for my long-suffering roommate, Catherine King. She has put up with a lot, and I know I wouldn't have made it without her, and I'm eternally grateful. I've had many friendships in this place. To Tanya, and the girls in '98, Nicola, Kirsten, Michelle. They were all there. We all then went on and had children. It was a rather remarkable group. To Jenny Macklin, who's been there too. Recently, Maria, Melissa, to Andrew Giles. In the fun days in Red Corner, Albo and Griffin tried to lead me astray with the fun faction. But as I was very soon pregnant, that didn't work out either. But they were a hoot to be around. Yeah, give us. Oh, totally unrelated. Steve's here. Look at my children. They look very much like me and my husband. On my last walk up Red Hill, I reflected on Carolyn Chisholm, the amazing woman whom my seat is named after. I promised to know, she said, I promised to know neither country nor creed, but to serve all justly and impartially. The world has benefited from the remarkable life of Carolyn Chisholm. She had a dream for a better life for those less fortunate. She was stymied and vilified by the establishment of the day, but triumphed by her dogged persistence to her cause and achieved respect and support for her endeavours because she had a vision. I hope I've emulated in a small way this dogged determination to make the world a better place and to achieve the great objective of the light on the hill. The last word, though, goes to Trollope again. It's been the great fault of our politicians that they've all wanted to do something.